The chipped ceramic mug warmed my hands, but the chamomile tea did little to soothe the knot in my stomach. My reflection in the dark window pane showed a woman consumed by secrets. I, Laurel, the woman who spent a decade crafting a life of predictable harmony with my husband David, was now dancing on the precipice of chaos. And it was all because of James. It began innocently enough. James, our CEO's brother, joined the marketing team a few months ago. He was everything David wasn't: spontaneous, with a laugh that could make the office plants perk up, and a way of looking at you like you were the most fascinating person in the world. Where David was solid and reliable, James was a burst of vibrant color in my otherwise beige landscape. Our initial interactions were purely professional, focused on campaign strategies and brainstorming sessions. But as the weeks went by, those interactions began to linger. Late-night projects became an excuse for shared takeout and whispered conversations. I'd find myself lingering by his desk, feigning interest in his latest graphic design, just to steal a glance at his smile. The chemistry between us was undeniable, a palpable hum in the air whenever we were near. It was intoxicating, especially in contrast to the comfortable, albeit predictable, rhythms of my marriage. David and I had built a life together, a sturdy foundation of shared meals, quiet evenings, and mutual respect. We were a team, meticulously organized, our routines a testament to our compatibility. But the spark, that raw, undeniable connection, had long faded into a warm ember. Then came the night of the company holiday party. The clinking of glasses, the hum of conversation, the festive spirit seemed to amplify the tension between James and me. We found ourselves gravitating towards each other, drawn by an invisible string. He was standing near the balcony, the city lights twinkling behind him, and my heart hammered against my ribs as I approached him. "You look beautiful tonight, Laurel," he said, his eyes holding mine a moment too long. I brushed it off, a nervous laugh escaping my lips. "Thanks, James. You clean up nicely yourself." We talked for what felt like hours, losing ourselves in a world where only the two of us existed. It wasn't about work anymore. It was about dreams, fears, things I hadn't shared with anyone in years. And then it happened. In a dimly lit corner, hidden from the crowd, he leaned in, his gaze searching mine, and kissed me. The kiss was a jolt of pure electricity, a transgression that both thrilled and terrified me. It was reckless, forbidden, and yet, I couldn't pull away. When we finally broke apart, the silence was charged with unspoken words. We knew we had crossed a line I had never imagined myself even considering crossing. The following weeks were a blur of stolen moments and hushed conversations. I'd find myself making excuses to stay late or arrive early, my life now revolving around the possibility of a fleeting encounter with James. Every touch, every stolen glance felt like a drug, a high I couldn't resist. We'd meet in quiet corners of the office, whispering our secrets, our hands brushing against each other, our eyes communicating a language only we understood. My once organized life was now a carefully constructed facade. I'd go home to David, wearing the mask of a loving wife, my heart heavy with guilt and deceit. I'd listen to him talk about his day, the banality of it all a stark contrast to the exhilarating chaos that James had brought into my life. Each hug, each kiss from David felt like a betrayal, a reminder of the web of lies I was weaving. I confided in Mary and Rachel, my best friends. They had always been my anchors, my voice of reason. Mary, ever the pragmatist, warned me about the dangers of destroying my marriage for a fleeting fantasy. "Laurel, you have a good life. You built this with David. Is this fling worth risking all of that?" Rachel, with her romantic heart, understood the pull of the forbidden. "But what if it's more than just a fling, Laurel? What if you're finally discovering a part of yourself that you've been suppressing?" Their conflicting advice only deepened my confusion. I was torn between the security of the life I knew and the intoxicating pull of a love I didn't understand. It felt like living in two distinct realities, the one with David, safe and familiar, and the other with James, passionate and unpredictable. One evening, after a particularly intense day of stolen glances and hushed whispers, James texted me, "I need to see you. Tonight." My heart leaped. I knew I shouldn't, but the allure of him was too strong to resist. We met at a secluded bar near the river, the soft glow of candles casting shadows on our faces. We talked for hours, our conversation ranging from our deepest fears to our shared dreams. He admitted he was falling for me, and the admission sent a wave of both terror and excitement through my veins. I confessed I was conflicted, torn between the love I had for David and the overwhelming connection I felt with him. "I can't keep doing this, James," I said, my voice barely a whisper. It's not sustainable. I can't live like this." He reached for my hand, his touch sending sparks through me. "I know. But I can't imagine my life without you now, Laurel." The weight of my choices pressed down on me. This was no longer a game, a harmless flirtation. This was real, and the consequences could be devastating. It was then I noticed Marcus, another colleague, walking towards us. Marcus had a tendency to overshare, and I knew this could lead to a crisis. I pulled my hand away from James, suddenly seeing us from the outside in. I was not the devoted wife I had always been. I was a woman tangled in a web of desires and deceit, about to implode and destroy the life I had always envisioned. The moment Marcus turned and started walking away, I felt a sudden sense of clarity rise inside of me. I looked at James, his eyes reflecting the turmoil in my own, and I knew what I had to do. I couldn't continue to live this lie. I couldn't keep hurting David, or myself, or James. "I have to go," I said, standing up, my voice trembling slightly. This has to stop." James didn't try to stop me. He simply watched me walk away, his eyes filled with a mixture of understanding and sadness. As I walked home that night, the city lights seemed less vibrant, the night less alluring. The thrill was gone, replaced by a deep sense of unease. The path ahead was unclear, uncertain, but I knew, as surely as the sun would rise the next day, that I had to choose the difficult path, the path towards honesty, even if it meant facing the wreckage I had created. I was no longer Emma, a woman caught in a romantic fantasy. I was Laurel, a woman who finally saw a glimpse of the woman she wanted to be, one who would face the painful truth and fight for the life she had, not the life she fantasized about. The journey would be difficult, but for the first time in months, I found myself ready to face it, head high, flaws and all.